Islanders-Rangers. It is one of the best rivalries in the sport of hockey. There's been all-out brawls and bloodshed. There have been times where they have tried to kill one another. There have been hits that still replay in the fan base's minds. There have been times where players may have spit or cursed at the Ice Girls. And there have even been invasions by Ranger fans dressed as Santa Claus, parading across the Islanders' home ice. If you can't tell, the stories are endless in this rivalry. And the story I have for you today somehow involves the fast food chain Wendy's. Because of that fact, there is no story weirder or more essential in describing what this rivalry is all about than the infamous double chili game. But first, how exactly did we get to that night? And I promise you guys will get your chili after I give you context. Now, hockey has had many heated rivalries in its history. Rivalries such as Toronto and Boston, although that one is a little one-sided because the Leafs haven't beaten the Bruins in a playoff series since 1959. But who could ever forget the brutal wars between the Red Wings and Avalanche? And of course there were the Capitals and Penguins battling pretty much every postseason during the Crosby-Ovechkin era. While these rivalries might have state or even national boundaries between them, what sets the Islander-Ranger rivalry apart is location. The two teams play less than 30 miles away from one another. One team plays in the heart of one of the world's most famous cities, in one of the world's most famous arenas, and has created stars that go on the feature on The Tonight Show,
Henrik Lundqvist,
or in the movies. I still can't believe Sean Avery was in Oppenheimer. The other team has been tucked away within suburbia, with a once rich history of championship glory, that then became riddled with rumors of relocation, failed ownership, failed new arena plans by that ownership, and those fish stick jerseys. The Islanders weren't even really wanted by the NHL in their inception. The NHL just put them there because they didn't want the WHA, a competitor league to the NHL, to put a team in the new Nassau Veterans Memorial Coliseum. Long Island at the time was Ranger territory. The Rangers practiced on Long Island in a town called Long Beach. There was even a sign that greeted you when you got there that said, Long Beach, home of the New York Rangers. Although that sign has kind of faded over the years. The Islanders even had to pay a $4 million indemnification fee to the Rangers simply for invading Ranger territory. And because of all this, the Islander-Ranger rivalry has become more than what is on the ice. It has formed rivalries within your own community. The Islander-Ranger rivalry is your brother, it's your sister, it's your uncle and your cousin. It could be your husband or wife. And if you're really rebellious, it could even be your mother or father. Or if you're former quarterback Boomer Esiason, it could be having an Islander as your son-in-law. It was unlike any other rivalry in the pre-Twitter era, where you couldn't interact every day with rival fans across state lines. Meanwhile, the Islander-Ranger rivalry followed you to school, to work, or even to Wendy's. And growing up as a kid within this rivalry, I know it all too well. A tough loss to the Rangers right before Christmas could make the holiday a living hell. And sadly, for most of my life until like 2015, the Islanders were bad. And in 1972, the Islanders' first season in the league, they were also bad.
Like so bad.
A season where the Islanders would set NHL records for the most losses, the fewest victories, and the most goals allowed in a season. You know who wasn't bad in 1972? The New York Rangers. They had just come off a playoff series loss in the Stanley Cup Final to the Boston Bruins, and were gearing up to make another run the following season. So when the Rangers made their first trip to Long Island for a preseason matchup, the arena was filled with fans of the Blue Shirts, who got to see their Rangers stomp the Islanders 6-4. The Rangers would then sweep the season series against them when the season came along. Yet by 1975, the Islanders had started to accumulate some talent. including some faces that would become part of their team's championship DNA. Star defenseman Dennis Potvin, Mr. Islander Bobby Nystrom, and the new toughest guy in the league, Clark Gillies. With this influx of talent, the Islanders were no longer a joke and made the 1975 playoffs. And of course, their first playoff series ever had to be against the New York Rangers. While the Islanders might have snuck into the playoffs, the Rangers were still the big brothers in New York. And entering that playoff series, the Rangers were 13-3-1 all-time versus the Islanders. Although 2 of those 3 losses came in 1975. But surely the domination would continue, right? New to the playoffs in 1975 was a best-of-3 preliminary round, and in that small of a sample size, a fluke could maybe happen.
Tonight, game 1 between the New York Rangers and the New York Islanders.
In Game 1, the Islanders would come back from a 2-0 deficit to steal a game in front of a sold-out MSG crowd. Then in Game 2, the Rangers thrashed their little brothers like they always have, humiliating the Islanders in an 8-3 victory on Long Island. Surely that would kill their Cinderella story. Yet somehow in Game 3, the Islanders jumped out to a 3-0 lead nearing the end of the second, only for the Rangers to come storming back, tie it up, and send it to overtime. And as the crowd was getting settled for the overtime period, only 11 seconds into the extra frame, it would be the 2 newest Islanders who would get the job done.
What really put the team on the map was when Bill Torrey made a trade for J.P. Parise and Jude Druin. Those 2 brought a wealth of experience. It was probably fitting that J.P. would score the big goal. It was a pass from Jude.
Now looking for a goal! How about that? Holy cow, what's going on now?
The Rangers were stunned. Steve Vickers would say it was the most embarrassing defeat he had ever suffered, losing to the Islanders. To make things worse, the Islanders would reverse a 3-0 series deficit against the Penguins in the next round, a feat that hadn't been done since the 1942 Toronto Maple Leafs. And as the 1970s progressed, the Islanders kept getting better while the Rangers trended down, especially when the Islanders would add 2 more Hall of Fame pieces in Brian Trottier and Mike Bossy. The Rangers would miss the playoffs in 1976 and 1977. Then they would suffer a preliminary round defeat to the Buffalo Sabres in 1978. All while the Islanders just couldn't get over the hump, losing in the semifinals twice in those 3 seasons. So when the Islanders looked poised to finally make the finals in 1979, the last team they had to go through, of course they were the... You know what? Let me not spoil this.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Jim Gordon, along with Bill Chadwick, the Big Whistle. Tonight, the New York Rangers and the New York Islanders.
In a complete role reversal from the 1975 series, the Islanders were now the favorites and the Rangers were the underdogs. And the Rangers somehow made it all this way without their best scorer, Ulf Nilsson. Why was Ulf Nilsson not playing, you ask? Well, on a late February night in MSG, the Islanders and Rangers had another heated matchup. As the puck caromed behind the net, Ulf Nilsson went to play it. Dennis Potvin lined him up and crunched him. Nilsson's skate would get caught in a crevice in the ice, breaking his ankle. The Ranger crowd was horrified. They hated Potvin so much now that they created a chant that lives on at every Ranger game to this day. So when the Rangers had the chance to eliminate the Islanders and get revenge, there was nothing that would stop them. They would defeat the Islanders in 6 games, massively upsetting them and labeling the Islanders as routine chokers.
This is a Ranger team that nobody figured to beat here, beating the #1 team in hockey.
The Rangers would lose in the finals, but to them, beating the Islanders was their Stanley Cup.
When we beat the Islanders in 1979 to go to the finals, that was our Stanley Cup. That was our Stanley Cup.
The Rangers were once again the kings of New York hockey, and the advertising dollars funneled in. But as the Rangers celebrated their triumph, the Islanders were plotting something devious for the next time they saw them on the ice.
I tell you, there's only one team in New York, and that's the Rangers. That's all I have to say. Steve Vickers and I were on our hands and knees going, oh God, please, I will never do another bad thing in my life. I'm so excited in this one that it's ridiculous. Oh no!
To me, they were too cocky and not respectful. They'd say a lot of things publicly in the newspaper that we used to motivate ourselves, and we'd put it on the board and we'd highlight it.
It soon became that the more they said I sucked, the more I wanted to hit that Ranger jersey.
Those Ranger fans will never get it. Even when I'm there, they keep yelling, Hot Ben's Cups.
I hated them, yes. You learn to hate them. When they start yapping in the paper, you get upset at that, and I did. I learned to hate them.
You gotta want to go out there and do everything you can to beat them. And we used to fuel each other's fires. Guys used to say certain things, and we'd get on the ice. There was certainly no love lost when we got out there.
Then if he wants to go, then they can go.
Well, we finally made it to what you came to see. But how the heck did a fast food chain end up in the middle of this rivalry? Well, for the 1979-80 season, the Islanders had a brand new local promotion with the fast food chain Wendy's, where if the Islanders scored 6 goals in a game, all the fans in attendance would be entitled to a free bowl of Wendy's chili after the game. This promotion would spark a new tradition of Islander fans heading down Hempstead Turnpike, pulling into the drive-thru and screaming, "I want my free chili." Now, this promotion had been spearheaded by Alan J. Bernstein, a fast food restaurant mogul, who founded Hardee's and Morton Steakhouse with his, and this is a real quote, Big Mac approach to filet mignon. Bernstein owned and operated 17 Wendy's restaurants in the New York area and resided on Long Island. And as hockey started to pick up on the island, Bernstein developed a love for the sport and his New York Islanders. So he just had to be in the building when the Islanders faced their fiercest rival, the New York Rangers. The game started out just as expected, a hard-hitting, tightly contested affair, with both teams tied up at 2 by the end of the first period. But with last season's elimination still fresh in their mind, the Islanders came out in the second period and spanked the Rangers around, scoring 4 unanswered goals to take a 6-2 lead. guaranteeing the fans would be going home with a free bowl of chili. And as the Coliseum crowd roared with chants of chili, 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 the Islanders decided they weren't done yet, tacking on 2 more goals before the end of the second period for an 8-2 lead. As Bernstein witnessed the spectacle before him, he figured it was a good time to capitalize on the raucous crowd. So he went down to the public address announcer and told him to make an announcement that if the Islanders scored 10 goals before the end of the game, every fan would get not just 1 bowl of chili, but 2 bowls of chili.
Ladies and gentlemen, a special announcement. The people from Wendy.
The face-off. Looks like
they should score 10 goals.
Looks like they're taking a 30-second timeout here, Bill.
Double chili.
Yeah, this pissed the Rangers off. Although there is no footage of it, it was reported by the New York Times that Phil Esposito allegedly flipped off the Coliseum crowd upon hearing the announcement. Rangers head coach Fred Shiro would stew on the bench, and after the game, he'd say they don't even do such things in Omaha, which is big league compared to the Coliseum. Rangers captain Dave Maloney stated that was rubbing it in. There were 20 guys out there humiliated without the Bush League stuff. But there was nobody in attendance who was more angry about that announcement than Islanders GM Bill Torrey. Torrey was an old-school hockey executive, his image trademarked by his bow tie, and he might be the only guy to ever get a bow tie retired. But because of Torrey's old-school nature, the double chili announcement filled him with rage, especially because Alan Bernstein did not notify him before giving the go-ahead. In an article written by Peter Schwartz of WFAN, Kenny Hare, who was director of sales for the Islanders at the time, was an eyewitness to Torrey's anger. Torrey basically lost it. He went berserk. He was almost hoping that we wouldn't get to 10 because he would have to face then Rangers head coach Fred Shiro and explain to him that he had nothing to do with this. And sure enough, Torrey's fears would come true, as the Islanders would score goal 9 just 9 minutes into the third, followed by the double chili goal just 3 minutes later. And that goal would come from none other than the man the Ranger fans hated the most, Dennis Potvin.
Now here's Gillies, back in front for 5 minutes, shoots, he scores! They do it again! They hit double figures, it's 10-3.
And double chili for the folks. I was saying Alan Bernstein, the president, who was a great Islander fan of the Wendy's chain, said if they get 10, we'll double the chili.
After the game, Brian Trottier would say, "When they made the announcement, I heard Dennis's stomach growling. The next thing I knew, he had taken the puck down and scored." Though the tragedy of the night would fade into hockey history, it would stay vivid in the minds of Islanders and Rangers fans. The night marked the beginning of 4 long years for Blue Shirts fans, as they had to see those damn Islanders win 4 cups in a row. And with those cups came the birth of the 1940 chant. Echoing at every Islander-Ranger game until 1994. Since that was when the Rangers re-established themselves atop the NHL.
1940!
The chant of 1940 has gone up from the crowd.
As time pushed forward, the Rangers became Wayne Gretzky's team, while the Islanders were sold to a con man and turned into a laughingstock. Yet we have now reached the point where both teams are stable, and who knows, they just might be on a collision course for another bowl of chili sometime in the near future. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you all again sometime soon.